Is the Conservative Party Islamophobic? And what precisely does Islamophobia mean? Whilst the first question might be related to topical news events this spring, it frankly astonishes me that we still need to ask about the latter. Late in May, Bob Blackman was revealed by the online news source Vice to be a member of several British nationalist anti-Muslim Facebook groups. Bob Blackman is the MP for Harrow East. This is not the first time he's been associated with Islamophobia, not even the first time this year. The Muslim Council of Britain has requested from the party action, including a genuine independent inquiry. Baroness Vorsi, a Tory peer in the House of Lords, told a journalist this week that Islamophobia runs through her party from top to bottom. So, the Tory party faces scrutiny over expressions of Islamophobia this spring and summer. This follows intense scrutiny over expressions of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party this winter and spring. I distinguish between scrutiny and intense scrutiny because there is a definite difference of scale in terms of outcry and recrimination. Some would say this is because of the difference in power. The Conservatives are the government. The leader of the opposition is seen more as an outsider figure than an establishment one. Perhaps the media are more favourable to the Tories than to Labour. Some would say it's because of the difference in social acceptability. Muslims are often defined as a social and political problem, not least due to occasional acts of terrorism here in Britain and across the world that are committed by Muslims and done in the name of Islam. Some would say this is because of the difference in how anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are categorized. Jews are defined both racially and religiously, and there are legal protections against racism that don't exist for religion. The problem is we don't know what we're talking about when we talk about Islamophobia. Or, if we do, we have left enough space in the definition that those who have an interest in keeping it unsettled can continue to deny it exists. It is, I suggest, a willful lack of clarity. Islamophobia is a term many academics use, alongside journalists, politicians, and members of the public. When I talk with my students about it, I refer to the 1997 report by the Runnymede Trust, Islamophobia, a challenge for us all. The Trust defines Islamophobia as unfounded hostility towards Islam, a useful shorthand way of referring to dread or hatred of Islam and therefore to fear or dislike of all or most Muslims. It is a simple definition, but it's open to a lot of criticism. For example, how do we know hostility is unfounded? And can we really take action against dislike? There have been many attempts in the last 21 years to tighten up the definition. Chris Allen gave the subject a book-length treatment. He adds plenty of boundaries to limit the meaning of his definition, but at 224 words, it's not so useful for public discussion. We sometimes use the phrase, hard to operationalize. Allen has also proposed a working definition for the Home Affairs Committee. This was just last year. Note that Allen's paper is called Toward a Working Definition. 20 years later, we still haven't locked it down. The more enduring criticism is that Islam as a religion, as an idea, should be immune from attack. Muslims are people? Fine, but we can't, nay, we shouldn't protect the religion from challenge. This comes from aggressive critics such as the journalist Polly Toynbee, who greeted the report's publication by declaring proudly, "I am an Islamophobe," as well as sympathetic scholars such as the anthropologist Fred Halliday, who is concerned that focusing on Islam shifts attention away from the real suffering experienced by living, breathing Muslims. We can think of it like the maxim from football, play the ball, not the man. But we know that the ball is often perilously close to the knees, shins, and ankles of the players. New research from a team led by Stephen Jones has noted that a lot of research on this question looks at the social consequences for people defined as Muslim. To keep with the analogy, it's about how the player is played when entangled with the ball. Jones and colleagues write, while this may facilitate public recognition of more extreme manifestations of Islamophobia, it comes at the cost of neglecting subtler, socially acceptable prejudices. These academics interviewed scientists and members of the public in the UK and Canada about religion and science. They note that few people expressed hostility to Muslims. Many more people, even when they expressed tolerance of and support for Muslims, expressed hard condemnation of Islam in relation to science. Whether Islam is an exception among or an extreme illustration of religious attitudes to science, its opposition was clear, and that, according to the authors, justified a public anxiety about Muslims, since They are the ones who practice Islam. By playing the ball, they are still playing the man, and this leaves Muslims, to keep with the analogy, dispossessed, hurt, and sometimes injured, much like they are feeling concerning the actions of a sitting member of parliament and the inactions of his party, the one that forms our government.